everybody. Welcome to the All American Otaku Show. Today, we're going to talk about comedy. For starters, we're going to talk about how comedy is in Japan. Comedy in Japan is more about slapstick and taking everyday time periods and everyday modes of thinking and turning it on its head and looking more of a comical aspect of their comedy in Japan is a mixture between slapstick within relationships and various other things. Before we start talking about the animes and comedy, we're going to talk about what we did at first. I made created a poll on my channel where people voted in the top comedies in anime. He had 14 votes, and there was a clear winner. There was two that tied, and then there was another one that was a clear one that took last place. We're going to start off with the anime that took last place. Then we're going to do several other animes that weren't part of the poll. And after those several animes, we're going to do the two that took second, that tied for second. And then we're going to take the clear winner and talk about that. The first anime we're going to talk about that took last place in the poll is the anime known as Slayers. Slayers is a high fantasy comedy, over the top characters, over top situations, and over the idea of slapstick. But Slayers does have a good fantasy style story. Slayers reminds me of various different D&D campaigns I've played where there was elves, where there was chimeras, where there was doors, where there's giants, and there was all magic of all kinds. It starts off with the main character, Alina Inverse, who is a very powerful sorceress who can do explosions and various these high powerful, high devastating spells. She's looked at as flat chested and maybe not the best looking, even though she thinks she's the best looking woman there, that she's a beautiful sorceress, that everyone likes her. She starts off as fighting these bandits who stole this gold from this town. And with them, when they stole the gold from this town, she goes in there and wanting the treasure for herself. She goes in there and says, "This treasure is going to be mine. I am going to steal all this gold and it become my gold." And the bandit person is looking at her and says, "Oh, what are you going to do, little lady? What are you going to give me in return? Are you going to come here and what do you plan on doing?" Says, "Oh, I plan on taking all the gold." "So how are you going to do that?" She does fireball, sets everything on fire, destroying the bandits, shooting fire arrows and various different spells. She ends up taking all the gold and running off with it. And then she goes in to try to sell the treasure. She finds out some of the treasure she could make it more rich by enhancing it with her magic, making it magic items. She finds out a dagger that makes people go crazy. She finds a crystal that can summon things and various other aspects. This anime is very over a top comedy, some fan service, but it was a 90s anime, but it's not one of those ultra violent animes that were prominently in the 90s. They She ends up going into the town selling in there, says, "Oh, you're the one who defeated the bandits. You're a hero. Oh, no thinking of there. Is there a treasure involved? Oh, did you stop the dragon and kill the dragon too?" She's like, "A dragon? So you defeated the one that was only controlling the dragon and holding the dragon back, and you accidentally released the dragon." And during that night, the dragon shows up, breathes fire, and destroys everything, and it's creating havoc. As the dragon is stomping on, looks like it was about ready to stomp on Lena, but it looks at Lena. It's does the goofy looking face, and it steps over like Lena was about ready to step in poop or crap or something really disgusting, and walks off. Lena says, "Hey, you can't treat me like that. How dare you? I am a beautiful sorcerer. I deserve more respect than that." And the dragon keeps on terrorizing. "Hey, are you listening to me?" He says. Then she does her ultimate attack, we thought at the time, called Dragon Slave. She does the little chanting thing and eventually does this huge explosion that destroys half the city, destroying the dragon, of course. She's like, "Oh, I destroyed the dragon. Are you here to congratulate me and treat me like a hero?" "No, you destroyed half the town. It's going to cost there. We lost everything." Chasing her out of town. And eventually, she finds herself in a forest in the next episode. And that's when you meet while she's getting incarcerated by bandits and they're trying to capture her, thinking they got this easy thing. She was about ready to do a magic thing. That's when the hero comes out, male lead in there named Gallery. Gallery comes in there with a sword and dispatches these bandits like they were nothing. Clear, great swords fight. He goes like, "Oh, I have rescued you for me." And looks there. "Oh, I rescued a little boy, a little kid." She's like, "Oh, I'm a fair maiden. Thank you." Yeah, and she's flat chested. Oh, flat chested girl at that. Says, they end up going there. Says, "Oh, you keep insulting me and treating me like a little kid. I am a sorcerer." "You're a sorcerer? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mess with a sorcerer." Gallery, though a gallant hero and a powerful swordsman in his own right, is a complete imbecile. This is where the humor goes in there. The interaction between the greedy sorcerer and the warrior Gallery, they eventually working together. They get separated. Gallery's trying to look there. "I'm looking for Lena. I need to find Lena." Finds this girl he thinks that looks like Lena. Says, "Oh, you can't be Lena. You have bigger boobs than Lena. Lena's flat chested." The girl slaps him and various different humor there. They eventually meet a chimera who was trying to after one of the objects that she stolen from the bandits. And the chimera goes, "I will pay you anything." "Oh, I'll keep it there," and ends up becoming what we thought as a major rival and various other aspects of there. There's humor in there. There's a fish person who tries to kiss Lena, and then Lena roasts there, and various other over the top characters. The humor keeps on going there, more slapstick, more over the top destruction, more jokes about how flat chested and how scary she is to dragons and how she repulsive she is to creatures and things. And then you have the OVA of Slayers, where they have a different character named Naga, who's only in OVAs. OVAs in anime are original video animation that necessarily are connected to the anime itself. They had several little ones of Slayers. Naga, they're all scared of her because how she's annoying and how Lena is annoying and various other things. They said, "I'm getting the most horrible thing," and it's Naga. It's a clone of Naga and so forth. This anime is very humorous, very over the top. It's high fantasy. I highly recommend this anime called Slayers. The next anime I'm going to talk to more about is a period plays, some more modern anime. The idea that pokes fun at various different genres and various different tropes. It's an anime that a lot of people are talking about. It's called Gintama. Gintama takes place in almost a future, but also takes place in the past where samurais are illegal to be a samurai, and the people who with swords, you're no longer to have swords or any of those weapons of any kind, which was a true period in samurai culture called the Restoration period, where samurais were stripped of their rights, and Japan was becoming more modern day soldiers and away from the more feudalistic period. This makes fun of the comedy tropes, the fan service tropes. This anime makes fun of the idea of shonen, and as well as various different anime and various other aspects of other shows. This anime goes into over the top sometimes, over makes fun of their fights, but it actually has a really great and really strong story in itself, even though it does make fun of everything else. And speaking of animes that has a good story and has a good trope and really builds onto something, is none other than the anime known as Shimoneta, or A World Without Dirty Jokes, where the funny in this anime is the idea of the dirty jokes and rude humor and the idea of over sexualized things. The idea of the anime where it talks to there of a conservative nature, that if you outlaw pornography or outlaw more of the idea of sexuality or bikinis or things that separate the genders and how people truly feel, it could lead into the idea of not knowing what certain urges and things are, which leads to the main character who was in love with the school president, who's part of the more conservative movement, who has these necklaces on there that monitors how people talk or what they see. Well, she says she ends up having these urges for him and the urgent feelings, but doesn't know what to do. And ends up becoming more of a yandere, not a yandere as in killing people or slaughtering people, more of a idea trying to rip off his clothes and try to force herself on him type aspect. And this leads to the her friend who is secretly the vigilante. And the vigilante in this case is not someone who fights crime, but fights a more of oppressive system. In this case, the people who are trying to say the idea of having urges and feelings are wrong and dirty jokes should not exist. She goes in there with only a robe thing and panties over her head and calls herself Blue Snow, where she distributes bad, dirty jokes and pictures of people in bikinis and porn stuff and etchy stuff all over the place, as well as this is one of the few animes where the fan service is really part of the story, as well as the comedy and the insults and the insults and the jokes in there, as well as a love story and a romantic side that you normally see. I highly recommend it if you really want to see something with a great story, great comedy, and a great aspect. The next anime I'm going to talk to you about is a very humorous one. It's a very school anime. It's one of the two school anime comedy animes I'm going to talk to you about. Is This one is called Defrag. It's about a gamer club where they each of the girls and stuff have various different elements that they said they have, and a gangster guy who's more of a delinquent and beats up various different people and very supposed to be a very tough guy. He goes into there and think there's a fire. They they throw water, jump water in there and trying to drown him. They try to throw fire on him. The one says, "I have earth powers," puts earth in there and punches him in the face and beats him up while he's trying to save there, and he gets goaded into going to the gaming club. When I first seen this first episode, it was hilarious to me. The humor is over the top. The action in the story is really good. It's a very humorous, only 12 episodes, but very great anime, very school anime, the very club oriented, very an anime that has really wild characters. I highly recommend it. It's called Defrag. If you haven't really heard of it before, the next school anime it goes into the idea of comedy of in school and the idea of the comedy of education is called Baka and Test. Baka in Japanese is a kind of like a word, an idiot or an insult. So Baka and Test is a school and various other schools that go for by classes when you take tests and various other schoolwork, you gain power and your avatar becomes powerful. Well, the main character is in the lowest and lowest grade, and only reason he got into the school is because he was kind of a scholarship pushed into their kind of like an idiot hire to help move desks and things. He's a complete moron. They're like, oh, we got this one with ability. You don't mean? Yes, he's a certain type of thing. Well, we find out he's weak in various things, but even though he can move objects, even though he's a complete moron, and the girl who ends up in the lower class, who should have been higher, is a complete genius, was finishing out math tests and various other aspects and defeating various different schools and very different classes. This is very comedy and situational. It's very slapstick, very fan service style comedy. Highly recommend it. Has various different comical episodes, various aspects of school life and such. I highly recommend this anime. It's called Baka and Test. And finally, the anime I'm going to talk about that before we go into the final three on the pole, is this very popular, very comical, very over the top anime. The animation quality is fairly bad. It's a mixture of a Picasso paint, looks like a Picasso painting, or someone who was drunk drew on it. This is one of the longest running animes of all time. It's even longer than One Piece. Some call it Crayon Chan, or in America, Chin Chan. This is about a little boy who's in elementary school who goes over a top and shows his butt everywhere and does these dances and very slapstick. And their mom is like slaps him in the head and very over the top comical. They joke with each other, they insult each other. It's a very humorous, very over the top anime. It'll make you laugh. There's like the main character Chin Chan goes puts his his pants over there, go there and goes there. Oh, I'm the monkey boy, dancing with his butt out and stuff. The girl in front of the girls laughing, and goes to the highly over the top, over the edge comedy. I highly recommend this one. It's a long one, highly humorous, highly funny. It used to be at one point on Adult Swim when they were showing more anime before they had the only anime block on Saturdays of Toonami. This is I highly recommend this anime. It's funny. It's called Chin Chan. I haven't really seen it in a while, so I don't remember too much more detail. But I had to include this one because how such an anime comedy standpoint. Next ones I'm going to talk to you about are as the first one that tied before the number one is Konosuba. Konosuba is a anime about fantasies and isekai. The main character goes to rescue this girl who he's an otaku, and then in anime culture, someone who was a shut-in that only goes for anime and manga and figures and shuts himself for the outside world. See this girl almost getting hit by a tractor, so he shoves him out of the way. Didn't realize it was a tractor, thinking it was a truck, and this girl's going to get reamed. He ends up getting a heart attack and dying, and then wetting himself, and meets the goddess of death, which in this there is none other than Aqua. He goes there, yo, you've died. Oh, I came there to rescue girl. Did the girl is okay? Oh, she was never in danger. It was a tractor. It was a tractor? Yeah, and when you died, you had a heart attack and you wetted yourself. We could send you in the fantasy world and you could have anything that you want. Anything out. Keeps insulting him. He says, okay, fine. You're a goddess. I want you with me in the fantasy world. No, that can't be. You can't get that. And of course, the powers that be send her in there, and they end up in the fantasy world. And she ends up almost considered useless, who has a sword of water power, various great mana, but low intelligence, low charisma, and very greedy thing. The main character is a thief and things like that, should be more of an artisan besides, oh, I'm going to be an adventurer, even though my stats and everything else are not high. But you find out he has high luck, and one of his abilities when he learns how to steal is like, oh, I'm going to steal a girl's panties. He steals the panties and waving it around. She's trying to get her panties back, and it's like, how did you steal my panties? The over top of, then you meet a character of Darkness who's kind of a masochist, loves to get hit, loves pain, and loves to be put down, but she can't hit with her, which makes her a perfect tank. And then you have a character, Mogumi, a powerful mage type thing that has a spell called Explosion, and that's the only really spell she knows. She does is the spell Explosion. It destroys everything, but it passes her out. You have all these wild top characters. They meet a slime. He says, oh, slime's going to be easy. They're the easiest things to kill. It's like, who told you that? There are demons that could corrupt. And they defeat the slime. They meet this other guy who came from the world, who was an otaku, who had the ability to create everything he wants. He creates a mecha and various other things. The world becomes more and more darker and more humorous. There's the idea of the pervy humans. Like one episode, he hires a succubus to go into create his fantasy and things, and he thinks the idea of Darkness, the female thing who actually, and Mogami and as well as Aqua and things are there to go for his fantasy and is part of the succubus. And instead, he's doing this in real life, and going there, they applaud his audacity. And when he finds out the succubus, oh crap. And then they end up killing him. He meets another goddess of death and they end up sending him back and various other aspects. Various humorous anime. There was 3 seasons. I only seen 2 seasons of it. I highly found it funny. And I'm not much of an isekai fan. It's a really great, really over the top. The characters are great. And this was voted tied for second best of the poll that I did. The next anime, very humorous, very jokedly anime that was second in the poll is none other than Ramna One Half. Ramna One Half is a romantic comedy. The idea of various different martial arts from things that are not martial arts, like martial arts takeout ramen, martial arts rhythm gymnastics, various different people fall in different rivers and get the abilities of the whoever drowned there. The main character is named Ramna Saitama, who falls into a river of the drowned girl. So every time he splashes with cold water, he turns into a girl. Well, his dad falls into a different pond for when he ever splashes with cold water, he turns into a panda. Eventually, his dad says, I arrange you to marry your choice of one of the girls of one of my friends. He goes in there, but at the time he looks female. He goes in there and says, I'm here, Ramna Santama from my old friend. They get a letter says, oh, you're going for my son. He's going to try to marry to rejoin our martial arts. He ends up meeting a girl named Akane, who's a tomboy, doesn't like boys, and they became friends. And eventually, when he splashes warm water and turns into a boy again, she comes in there. So Ramna there says, well, that's okay. We're both girls. We'll take a bath together. She comes in there, of course, the breast showing, and comes in there open. There's like, and then he slaps her, and then they become almost frenemies. And in there, they travel there. Oh, how come you follow me, you perv? I can't believe you're coming and let the whole. They don't like each other. They don't get there. Says, I don't want a girl like you. You're not only am I when I'm a female, I have better. I'm very built to. I don't need to see and it's the idea, will they or won't they type relationship. And then you have a character named Shampoo, who was a Chinese Amazon. Funny. She ends up falling in the stream of the drowned cat. So when she's splashed with cold water, she turns into a cat. And she's after Ramna as a more love interest because he's tough and defeated her in battle at one point. Ramna meets this guy called the Black Rose, who's a major sword fighter who liked Akane, but also falls in love with female Ramna, but hates male Ramna. Hasn't distinguished that they're both the same person. His sister loves male Ramna, but hates female Ramna. And you have a character named Ryoga, who has the worst sense of direction known to mankind, who ends up trying to go fight a person across the street, ends up going all across China, various different Korea, and various places as such. And it takes months. As I waited for you for months and months and months and days and years. I didn't try to back up from the fight, then eventually have a major rival, but when he fell into the water, he turns into a pig. Well, Connie thinks it's just a pig and has him as a pet. He falls in love with Akane and ends up in a rival with Ramna and various other humors there. This anime is done by the same person who did Inuyasha. It's the pokes fun at relationship, pokes fun at the idea of arranged marriages and tradition, and it also pokes fun at the idea of slapstick and gender roles. Finally, the anime we're going to talk about, the last on the list, the one that won the best animation on the poll and voted for one of the top animations we've done, is none other than GTO, or Great Teacher Onizuka. Imagine a teacher that is an ex-gang member, an ex-con, a martial artist, kind of a perv. He takes the idea of what he learned through gangs and delinquencies when he goes into become a teacher to a delinquent school where all the supposedly bad students. He turns them around. They ended up liking him and becoming more friends. You have enemies turn there. He finds out the girl, he owns a perving on several of the high school girls. Yeah, I know that's over the top. As well as the idea he falls for a one of the teachers, and they think he's like this major perv with the going out for these prostitutes, but it's one person trying to besmirch him by putting in his head on various different dirty magazines type thing, and he finds out about this, like, instead of really getting mad, so can you do this and can you do that, and this one bully kid tries to commit suicide. He tries prevents him and talks him down and treats him like a human being, and finds out he's into video games and he knows how to beat these JRPGs. What in this case was Arc Lad, because this anime came out in the 90s, and tells him, oh, great tips, and oh, great, so and so. He becomes more friends and students, and he shows that he could be truly are a great teacher. He truly are as a great person, helps the girls and the guys and everything else, some that he was pervy on, some that he wasn't pervy on, how to go for problems using some of the gang tactics, as well as more delinquent and tough guy things, and really treats his students as people rather in their intelligence or looking down on them. This is a highly great anime. I highly recommend it, and I highly tell you that it's one of the best comedies I've seen, and I'm glad that it won the poll, because that was the one I was going for. It won by almost 50 or 60% in the four poll that we did. Now here's Mr. Pat on his manga review of various different mangas in combi. Thank you.
Yes, and this one I actually chose multiple instead of just one because I figured you give you more options to look up these ones that I chosen. So each of these have different aspects in comedy and most in just shows in general or in material of manga. There'll be all sorts of styles, and there's actually a variations of comedy. So the first one I chose was Spy Family, and just to put in this whole aspect, I'm choosing these manga stories to correlate the aspect that they're part of their anime as well. So if you want to watch it that way or read it, it's all dependent on you. Anyways, Spy Family. Um, this one's really hijinks of galore because you got one that is a spy dad. You got a mom that is an assassin, a daughter that's a telepathic psychic, and then you got a dog that she chose that is actually clairvoyant. Now, this is just a recipe for chaos and funny hijinks galore. Uh, so the premise is that Twilight, the dad, was chosen for a mission to have a family that so he could find about this gentleman that his son is at a school and they get more chances to see them. So they chose a family. The first they chose Anya as the daughter and the telepath. The the whole idea though is that nobody knows who and what they are as far as each of the professions. They keep it pretty under wraps. The Twilight himself, fakes that he's a doctor, but really is not a doctor at all. He's just really good at disguises. But anyways, Anya is the only one that knows all the professions, and she's pretty young, and she has a show that she watches, and it just she's absolutely enthralled with knowing each of the professions because she is just another spice in their family, and it really works out in that story. Next one, I'm picked as a different one is One Punch Man. It is what I classify as satire of superheroes in general. He's like, it describes in the title of it. He's one punch. He just knocks everything down on the floor. And the funny thing about the original manga itself was actually drawn from the original creator. And to my frank, it's really, really hard to read. So they actually updated through another means of someone else drawing it. But yeah, it's really hard to read when you first find it. But as it is now, it's really good. I mean, the really cool, funny thing is that nobody knows who he is. And he says he does it for for fun, to a hobby of his to save people. And what they call him is even more hilarious because he says, "Well, they call me Caped Baldy." And guess what? After he finished all this training and he's almost the lowest of the rung, he's called Caped Baldy, and it's just hilarious. And the funny part is they made this is one top tier S tier superhero, and he actually just keeps showing up when Saitama beats him, and they somehow think he did it. So he's like S tier, while Saitama's like the lowest rung, and it's just total hijinks as far as like, oh my gosh, this he has to go shopping, so he just knocks this one major creature that and starts going. I gotta get some beans and stuff, and they're on sale, and everyone's looking at him like, what? Yeah, so that's a really good one there. And then the next one I chose was called Delicious in Dungeons. This one is really good. It's basically Dungeons and Dragons meets Year Out of Food, and oh my gosh, what are you gonna do to survive? Because you can't survive without food. So the human comes to this idea that maybe we should eat the monsters we kill, and everyone's just like, "What? What are you thinking?" And then so they end up finding this dwarf guy that actually knows how to prepare foods as these monsters, and somehow they make them look appetizing during this whole story. Um, there's the human himself is he's the one that implored that the concept. There's Elf, and she has huge facial reactions of like, what are you thinking? And then she ends up liking it. And then there's this halfling quintessential thief that is decently okay if as long as it doesn't know what it is. So overall, these each of these three stories, like I just talked about, have different aspects of comedy to them. So that's it.
Welcome to the show where anime dreams come alive. Let's go! All American Otaku vivified, diving deep into the anime tide. From the screen to the page, pretending every stage. All American Otaku, their worlds collide. From the 90s till now, the passion's been real. Anime and manga, it's how we feel. Conventions and scenes, cooking up dreams. Japanese culture bursting at the seams. From the 90s till now, the passion's been real. Anime and manga, it's how we feel. Conventions and scenes, cooking up dreams. Japanese culture bursting at the seams. All American Otaku vivified, diving deep into the anime tide. From the screen to the page, pretending every stage. let's take that ride. From action to drama, it's all here. Community strong, let's make it clear. Otaku dreams, we're chasing the light. Exploring new stories every day and night.